Francois. Sorry about the month of February, but as you can see, things sort of got out of hand, so to say. I was up helping my mom and some stairs collapsed and I fell and broke my arm. So waited till I was 60 years old to break my arm. So anyway, I have already chopped up most of the stuff we need to chop for today's recipe, and I am doing something that I think we all really consider a comfort food, and that is pot roast. And we're cooking it in the pressure cooker. This is my new 8-quart pressure cooker. So to tell you how much I love pressure cookers, I have a 4-quart, a 6-quart, and an 8-quart, depending, I guess, on how much I'm cooking at one time. Since this one called for a 3 to 5 pound chuck roast, I decided to use my larger new pot. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the lid off, and I'm going to set it to brown sauté. And I'm going to add a little bit of olive oil to the pot. Get a little bit on the sides, on the bottom. Because the first thing we're going to do is we're going to season the meat. Here I have a 3.5 pound chuck roast. Beautiful piece of meat, really. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it in half so that it will fit better into the pot. If I was still using my 6-quart, I'd probably have to cut it into 3 pieces. But with the new pot, I should not have a problem whatsoever. Now, we're going to take a mixture of spices. I have salt, pepper, garlic powder, and onion powder that I'm going to mix together. And put liberally onto the chuck roast. Now, you might think, well, boy, that was an awful lot of spice you had. Well, of course, we're going to put spice all around it, but at the same time, what is left will go into our broth mixture that we will be mixing up while this is browning. So it's in more than one step. Pot's getting good and hot. Let me get this other side done of this portion. And I'm going to go ahead and put it in the pot. And that's going to start, and I'm going to go ahead and I am going to add the spice to the sides of this portion, and now on the back side, so that we have got it all around. And I will be browning this in a few minutes. I'll be back in a moment for us to mix together our broth mixture that we'll be using to cook with. So, I'll be back in a minute. Alright, I'm back. We're going to mix our broth mixture now, which starts with a cup of red wine. Remember, always wine that you would drink yourself. So 1 cup of red wine. And then we're going to put 3 cups of beef broth. 1. 2, 3. All right, got my broth in there. 1/4 of a cup of Worcestershire sauce, or Worcestershire, however you want to say it. In the country, we just call it Worcester sauce. So 1/4 of a cup of that. You're supposed to use fresh thyme, but as usual, the grocery store that I went to didn't have any. So I'm using dried thyme. I am adding 2 bay leaves and 6 cloves of chopped garlic. Plus that I knocked off on the table that I'm going to add anyway. There we go. And you stir that together. And once you've stirred that together, we're going to add 1 6-ounce can of tomato paste. Sometimes people say, why are you adding tomato paste to this dish that you're cooking? Well, there's a good reason. The tomato paste will make the gravy so much richer, and it also adds some flavor to it. So I'm going to stir that up. I think it's time to turn our meat. Oh yeah, beautiful. Golden brown. Golden brown. You're supposed to cook it until it is golden brown. And then we're going to take it out and put this sauce in to scrape up all those good bits that stuck to the bottom. And then, once it comes up to heat with just the sauce, we will put the meat back in. So, while I'm finishing browning up the meat, y'all take a break. Have a glass of wine. I'll be back in a minute. All right, our meat is beautifully browned and golden. And one thing I did forget to tell you, and I do apologize, is that the spice mixture of the tablespoon of onion powder, tablespoon of garlic powder, tablespoon of black pepper, and tablespoon of salt were also added to our mixture with the wine, the broth, and the other spices and the garlic. Now we're going to put this into the pot. I've taken the meat out. And you put this in, and you let it come up to heat. And then once it comes up to heat, we're any pieces that stuck to the bottom, we're trying to get them up because they are got good flavor. So I've stirred that. Once that gets up to heat, we're going to add the meat back. Then we will cook it under pressure for 75 minutes. Notice, that is when you can have time to cut up your celery. I bought my carrots already done. I got my onion. And they didn't have all small golden potatoes, which it calls for. Excuse me. So I bought a mixed bag that had gold, small red, and even a few purple potatoes mixed in, but it's still the 1.5 pounds that you're supposed to have. So, as soon as this gets up to heat, meat goes back in, and then we'll set it for 75 minutes of pressure, and then it will naturally release for 10 minutes, and then I will be back and we will continue with our recipe. So, be back in a minute. All I'm back. We have now cooked it for 75 minutes. And we have let it release naturally for 10 minutes and then release the pressure. The next step is to take the meat out. Whew, it's falling apart on me. All right, oh, they're good. There's a bay leaf. I can take that out. And what we're going to do is we're going to add the vegetables to this wonderful stock that we have in here. I think that's about all I can get. Oh, there's a little piece. All right, now what we're going to do is we're going to put 1.5 pounds of potatoes into the pot. 1 onion, 3 ribs of celery, and a pound of carrots. We're going to put our lid back on and we're going to cook this under pressure for, I'm pretty sure, let me double check, I don't want to tell you wrong. Let's see here. It says 6 to 8 minutes, so why don't we split the difference and do it for 7 minutes. And then we'll be back. All right. We're down to the last step. And listen, it just went off. So, let me come around here. I'm going to put it on stop. I'm going to release the pressure. Here I have 2.5 tablespoons of cornstarch, and I'm adding some of the beef stock to it to make a slurry. We talked about the slurries before. Sometimes they are made with flour. Sometimes they're made with cornstarch. You can use arrowroot. All those are typical types of slurries. Just a little bit more in there. Actually, it's going to be better if I just moved it into the other thing. I know you can't see what I'm doing. I'm sorry. But you're not missing much other than me making a little bit of a mess trying to do this. But we're mixing together our cornstarch and a little bit of stock. And as soon as this is finished releasing, it said you could do it one of 2 ways. You could either take the vegetables out or not. Well, I'm choosing the not. Here we go. Slurry is just about ready. Yeah. The reason you mix the cornstarch or the flour with liquid before you put it in, if you don't, it will make your gravy lumpy, and we don't want lumpy gravy. Whew, it's just about released. Well, it has finally finished releasing on us, so we can take the top off. Oh, that looks so good. Your onion, your potatoes. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of the bigger potatoes, and I'm going to take my knife and see if it's done. And it is. So, we know that we're ready for the next step. I'm going to put it on sauté, and I'm going to add the slurry to it. Stir it a little bit. Now I'm going to add the meat back, which it's just falling apart, which is what you sort of want it to do. And as soon as the gravy is as thick as you want it, you're ready to eat. Now, the way we did it when I was growing up, we did the same thing with the beef stew and with the pot roast, is we would take a bowl like this, and we would take one of Mama's homemade biscuits and open it up and put it in the bottom of the bowl. Then we would serve the pot roast over it. Oh, wow. I'm going to put it right here on the edge of the table, and then I am going to focus in with the camera. So hold on a second. This is our pot roast. I just noticed I didn't get myself a piece of onion. I got to get some onion. Getting my onion. There we go. Happy now. You don't even need a fork. I'm going to use the same spoon that I used earlier. I'm going to get me, there's a piece of, ooh, there's a carrot, and cut up a little bit of a carrot, and a little bit, look at that meat. Meat just falls apart. Wow. Here we go. Let's see. Out of this world. I hope you will try this pot roast recipe. It makes the meat just fall apart. Delicious. The sauce and the gravy is out of this world. So, until next time, let's dig in.